What was something your sibling did that you'll never forget? My older brother Caleb secretly protected me for years while I thought he hated me. I only discovered the truth after he died in a motorcycle accident, and now I'll never get to thank him. This goes back to when I was 8 and Caleb was 14. Our mom, Rebecca, had just lost her battle with breast cancer, leaving our dad, Miguel, to raise 2 boys alone. Dad wasn't bad. He loved us deeply, but he was drowning trying to work double shifts while grieving and keeping our household together. Caleb and I had what I thought was typical sibling rivalry. He'd tease me constantly, call me names, steal my toys. I figured he found me annoying, like most 14-year-olds would find their nerdy little brother obsessed with astronomy and model rockets. But there were small things I never questioned. Every morning, I'd find a perfectly made sandwich in my lunchbox, peanut butter and jelly, sometimes ham and cheese. I assumed Dad made them before his 6 a.m. shift. At school, I was definitely the easy target. Thick glasses, backpack full of science books, zero athletic ability. But for some reason, I never got picked on. I'd overhear kids planning to mess with me, but nothing ever happened. Teachers seemed to watch me closely too, always a teacher nearby during recess. Meanwhile, Caleb was constantly fighting. Every few weeks, Dad got called because Caleb was suspended again. I thought my brother was just a hothead who couldn't control his temper. We grew apart as we got older. By high school, we barely spoke. He'd moved out, worked at a motorcycle shop, and we'd see each other maybe at holidays. Our last conversation was an argument about him missing Dad's birthday dinner. I called him selfish. He hung up. 3 months later, Dad called at 2 a.m. Caleb had been hit by a drunk driver coming home from work. He died instantly. 6 months after the funeral, Dad and I were cleaning Caleb's apartment when I found my old elementary lunchbox. It triggered a memory. Dad, remember those sandwiches you used to make me? I was so grateful you took time despite everything else. Dad looked confused. What sandwiches? I left for work at 5:30 a.m. I never made you lunch. Then who? Must have been Caleb. He was always up early. That's when Dad started telling me things I'd never known. How Caleb asked teachers to watch me because kids were planning to pick on me. How every fight was because he'd heard someone threatening his weird little brother. How he worked extra hours to help Dad pay for my school supplies and science projects. He made me promise never to tell you, Dad said. Said you needed to think I was handling everything so you wouldn't worry. I sat in Caleb's empty apartment and cried harder than at his funeral. My brother, who I thought didn't care, who I thought was just a troublemaker, had been my secret protector for years. He'd sacrificed his reputation, his relationship with Dad, his school record, all to make sure I felt safe. Those fights weren't anger issues. They were him defending me from bullies targeting a grieving 8-year-old with glasses. Those lunches weren't Dad's impossible schedule working. They were my 14-year-old brother getting up at 5 a.m. to make sure I ate. Those teachers weren't randomly watching me. It was Caleb quietly ensuring I had protection. For over a decade, I thought Caleb just picked on me at home. Turns out, he made sure nobody else ever could. I never got to thank him or apologize for calling him selfish. Never got to tell him I understood why he was always tired, why he seemed distant, why he moved out so young. He wasn't running away. He was exhausted from being a father figure at 14. The thing I'll never forget isn't the teasing or arguments. It's that he loved me so much he was willing to let me think he didn't, just so I could feel like our family was still whole after Mom died. I keep one of those old sandwiches in my freezer. Found a bunch when we cleaned out his place. He'd apparently been making extras just in case.